Today we will study how we can use array. So last time we went through several other data structures, like we started with list, then uh, dictionary, then set, and now we will study array. Now from the knowledge that already you have regarding array based on C language, it's a bit different here. Like, the difference is not with respect to the concept of array. Like, what is array? We know that array is a collection of elements, similar type of elements. Here also array is collection of similar type of elements, but in general, according to C language, when we declare an array we consider only of two types, one dimensional and two dimensional, that you have seen. But here it is a little bit different, in a sense that we can have different type of dimension possible here. So the first thing that you have to understand, that is, to continue with array, here we will use a particular package in Python. The package name is Numpy. Okay, and this Numpy package not only deals with array, it provides a lot of different mathematical base of various operations. So, but array is one of them. Now I hope you can see my screen. So I'm just doing a little, increasing the size of this, and you see here the first thing, the line that is written here is import numpy. So this is a way by which we import a package. It's something like, you can say, include a header file in C language. If you want to compare with your previous knowledge in C, then you can say that in case of C, you are habituated in including header files, maybe stdio.h or conio.h. And what was the concept of header files? The header file contains lot of predefined functions that you can directly use in your program. In Python also, the similar strategy is followed, and here it is called package. Instead of header files, it is called package, and instead of include, we say import. But other than this, after importing it, there is a option for you, for the programmers, that you can give a alias of this particular numpy package name, something like in this way. So what is given here? Import numpy as np. It means that you are trying to say that you import the numpy package, and this numpy will be reconsidered, or you can say will be pronounced as only np. So instead of numpy every time, we can use np. But if you don't write this particular word, then also there is no issue. It's purely correct if you write only import numpy. But you know what will happen? For example, over here in the first line that you can see, it's written np.array. So this is the first thing, that how to create an array. The way is, the numpy, in the numpy package, there is a function array. There is a method, actually. You say method. Within this method, you have to pass some list or something, and based on that, an array is created. Okay. So for example, over here I have passed range 10. It means that I am passing a range, and since as already you are habituated with this range function in for loop, So you know that range 10 means actually it is 0 to 9. If you can remember my previous lecture. So basically, it will give output from 0 to 9 as a list, which will be converted to an array. And this array function you know, you cannot use without giving the source of this, and source of this array function is the numpy package. That is why we always write the package name dot then the method name, something like this. Now one more thing I can say here, that instead if you don't want to use this numpy package name and dot, you can directly import this array function as well. Now you see, uh, you see that if I run this particular code, then what will happen? So let me off one thing, just a minute. Okay. So if I run this code, then you see an array is created, and since it is an array, that's why it represents some in this way. So it's a function within which there is a list. So the parameter of this array function is always a list, something like this. Now in the same way, there is another function arrange present in the numpy package itself, which takes an argument, the you know the when, for example, if I run this, you'll see it's basically taking a range of numbers within which you want to create the array. So np.arrange 5,15 means that it will create an array starting from 5 and will be up to, obviously not 15, 15 minus 1, that is 14. So this is the array is created here. Similarly, you can create a two-dimensional array also. For example, over here, I hope you can easily understand this is basically a one-dimensional array. This is also a one-dimensional array. But for creating two-dimensional array, what to do? For example, you see two-dimensional array means row and column. So instead, you can assume that first row is a list of numbers, then in the second row there is another list of number, something like that. So in the third one, you see it's written, you see here that it is a list which will be the first row, and then after comma it is giving the second list which is giving the second row. Now since the whole thing should be in a list, that's why all these two is presented in another list over here. Now if you print this, you will see it is printed something like this. So this is the first row and this is the second row. For example, if I want to create a third row, what I have to do? I have to simply put a comma, and then I have to create one more list where I can keep some data. For example, X, then for example Y, then for example Z. And if you run this code again, you will see another row has been added here, which is for X, Y and Z. So definitely it is representing two-dimensional array. But now you see, through this array, actually we can represent different type of data. Different type of, in the sense, before we go for array, we had a only single variables. For example, A or B. How many data you can put? Only one value. If you have only one value in a particular variable, that value we call scalar variable, right? So through using array, you can also create a scalar value. For example, something like this. If I run this code, you see here what is given here. Array equal to np.array, and only one value is given. What does it mean? it means that it will create an array of only one element, which is basically a scalar value. You can say, right? That's why if you print the number of dimension and the shape, what is this shape? One by one I'm coming. Always remember, number of dimension represents what is the dimension of the array, and shape represents what is the number of row or number of column of the array. Now, if you run this code, you will see it's coming something like 0, a blank open and closing bracket, and then 1. Why 1? Because the element that you have given within the array ARR is 1. That's why it is 1. Ending is 0. What does it mean? It means that, is it like 0 dimension? It's actually, it means that it's a scalar value, so there is no such presence of dimension over here. And this shape is blank. The reason only is that this is a scalar variable because I have only one value in this array. But I can convert it to some one dimensional form, but that I will come later. Before that, let's go for the another part. For example, after scalar, we can have more than one elements at a time. I mean, the one dimensional array in the sense that we know basically that one dimensional array can be considered as a vector, right? So in those cases where we work with vector, for example, I have a particular variable, which variable have three different properties or four different properties. Property 1, 2, 3 and 4. And if I want to represent the variable, I have to represent by all four properties. That means that particular variable should be a one dimensional array at least. That is why in that case we can keep the array in this form, something like just what we have seen in previous example over here, something like this. So you see, since I have hard coded the elements value, that's why I have given them in a list. If you don't put them in a list, it will become a, you see, it is become a type error, because it should not be something like this. So I should have a list over here, something like this. So now if I print this, you see what's coming here. Here the dimension is coming 1 because this is now a one dimensional array. And you see the shape is given as within bracket 3 comma. What does it mean? It means that the number of row is 3, but column is, there is no such presence of column here. So only 3 values are present as a vector, right? So in one dimension we have only 3 elements, but in the other dimension doesn't exist. So that's why comma nothing. And in the right hand side, that 1, 2, 3 that you can see here is basically whatever value of ARR is printed. That's the thing. So this is what you can say, one dimensional array. Now if I want to go for two dimensional array, something like you can say matrix, just what you have seen in previous example over here, np.array with brackets, something like this, same thing given over here, something like this. So this will definitely create a two row. First row will contain 1, 2, 3 and second row will contain 4, 5, 6. And if you print the dimension, shape and the content, you will see you are getting here dimension is 2, obviously, row and column. And here now it is giving the shape 2 and 3. That means it has 2 rows and 3 columns. And the contents are, the first row is 1, 2, 3 and the second row is 4, 5, 6. As simple as that. Now sometimes based on your requirement, you may, for example, you are working with some three-dimensional object, okay, or maybe more than object, okay. So in that case, the array that you require to hold some data, obviously that array has to be in three-dimensional I mean, three dimension, right? Now, suppose you don't have presently the data that you have, you don't have those all the values in the three dimensions. So what you can do? But you have some values here. So what you can do, you can explicitly define an array by some dimension value. For example, over here, the array as it is given here ending equal to 5, it means that the ARR array will be created with 5 dimensions. Now it is very hard to imagine the 5 dimensions in an array because we always work on maximum 3 dimensions. So it is almost impossible to draw properly how the 5 dimension will look like on the copy. But you just have to imagine. For example, instead of 5, maybe it's a bit difficult, so I'm keeping it 3. And if I try to run this particular code, you will see what you are getting. You are getting 113. What does it mean? 113 means the shape of the array is 113, means only one row is there, only one column is there, but three, you know, I mean, it's actually not row column, it's actually row column and width. So there is three width. Each and every width has one row and one column, which is represented by 1 to 3. Now, somehow, if you want to go for some other values, for example, in the other dimension, so what you can do? You have to, that's why actually this array is given like this two opening and closing brace. So in general, you will not require this type of dimension, declaration in your problem. But just for understanding, just to be habituated with this array, we have I'm just sharing all this different type of code that is possible. So let's list up what we have learned from here. That we started from declaring a package, because without declaring numpy, without importing numpy package, you cannot work with any array, because array comes from numpy package. After importing the package numpy and give a, say for example, nickname, say as np, you can call np dot array or np dot arrange based on your requirement. And always remember that in the uh, parameter of np dot array, you should pass a list. Somehow you should pass a list. So that's why, for example, over here np.array, this range of 10 is actually representing a list. So you are passing a list from 0 to 9, and that's actually giving giving a array. Now if you somehow don't want to pass, you just want to create an array and you don't want to initialize that. For example, I just want to initialize something. So what I can do, so I can draw it here. For example, suppose I have created an array and I want to create a two-dimensional array, okay, with all zeros. So in that case, what you can do, you can simply write zeros within double quote. Here you can write say 2 comma 3, okay, and if you print this, you see what will, I'm sorry, np dot zeros, I think, np dot zeros, sorry, is it, no, I'm sorry, just a minute, am I wrong? Yeah, now it's came. What does it mean? It is representing that, you see, since we are representing a two-dimensional array, okay, and we want to initialize it all by zeros. For example, you require this, and maybe in your program you will put different values based on in a row or column or something like that. Some logic has to be there, obviously. You want to use this ARR array in your program, but initially you want to initialize it by all zeros. In that case, you can try with this particular type of declaration, which is representing that this is creating a array of 2 row and 3 columns, and each and every element will be initialized by 0. Similarly, there is one more approach. You can initialize by ones as well, something like this. So all will be 1, as simple as that. Now, if you see, for example, you want to initialize a one-dimensional array with zeros or ones, whatever it may be. For example, only 3. In that case, you don't require both all, I mean, two brackets. You require only one bracket is sufficient, something like this. Okay, or maybe even zeros. But you see, if you want to print the shape of this array, you see it is giving 3 only because it has only 3 rows but no columns. Column is only 1. So since column is only 1, that's why it is not explicitly saying the number of columns here. But if you change your mind and you keep some, say for example, some columns here, okay, then if you print the shape, it will show that 3 comma 4, because now you are actually creating a array with all zeros having 3 rows and 4 columns. So that's why it is giving shape 3 comma 4. So you have to be careful about when you are using shape. So this is one point. Second is, already you have seen that how to create a range from a particular number to another number and create an array. Similarly, we have seen that the row column part and also seen the dimensions. There are three possibilities. It can be scalar, it can be a vector, it can be a matrix, and it can be something like it can be changed at any point of time. The dimension can be changed using this ending equal to 3. So these are the basic things on array on which we can work.